Hilda Lefferts tapped a mugshot.
There, that's Susan Nancy's beau.
Bingo. A pudgy hardcase type. A real Duke Cathcart look-alike. Dean NMI Van Gelder, WMDOB 3421, 5'8 3/4, 178 pounds, blue eyes, brown hair. One armed robbery, 642, 10 to 20. Released from Folsom, 652. Full minimum sentence topped, no parole. No further arrests. Chalk it up to Bud White's theory. Van Gelder got it at the Night Owl. Hilda said,
That's it, Dean. Susan Nancy called him Dean, but he said, no, get used to calling me Duke.
Jack shook his head. One parlay made sense. The Englekling brothers to Cathcart to a brush with Mickey Cohen in stir back in 53. He picked up the phone, dialed O.
Operator, this is a police emergency. I need to be put through to McNeil Federal Penitentiary, Puget Sound, Washington. Tell him I'm on a homicide investigation.
Deputy Warden Cahill at McNeil. This pertains to a homicide?
Yeah, and all I need's one answer. I need to know if a white male named Dean Van Gelder visited an inmate at McNeil, say, from February through April 1953. All I need's a yes or a no and the names of any inmates he visited.
A sigh.
All right, please hold. This may take a while.
Jack held, counting minutes. Cahill came back on at 12+.
That's a positive. Dean Van Gelder, DOB 3421, visited inmate David Goldman on 3 occasions, 327, 41, and 4353.
Davy G. Mickey Cohen's man. Van Gelder's last visit 2 weeks before the Night Owl, the same time the Englekling brothers lubed Mickey. The meet where they spilled the smut plan. The Night Owl case started to shake. Ed drove Lynn Bracken home. She protested, then went along. Her day of truth dope, counter dope, and browbeating showed. She looked frazzled, exhausted. Call her smart, strong, and chemically fortified, she gave up nothing but Pierce Patchett crumbs. Lynn blew smoke rings.
Can I give you a drink?
Her smile made his smile easy. One drink. Lynn got out of the car. She led him to her building, unlocked the door, and hit a light. Ed walked in, exquisite, the fabrics, the art. Lynn kicked off her shoes and poured brandies. Ed sat on a sofa. Lynn joined him. Ed took his drink, sipped. Lynn warmed the glass with her hands. He leaned in and kissed her. Lynn pulled back, then kissed back. They rolled to the floor, shedding clothes. The phone rang. Ed kicked it off the hook. Bud hit L.A. at dawn, off the midnight bus down from Frisco. His city looked strange, new, like everything else in his life. He got a taxi and dozed. He kept snapping awake to Ellis Lowe. It sounds like a great case, but multiple homicides are tricky, and Spade Cooley is a well-known figure. I'll put a DA's bureau team on it, and you stay out of it for now. Cut to Lynn. Calls, the phone off the hook, smothered. Strange, but like her. When she wanted to sleep, she wanted to sleep. The cab dropped him off. He found a note on his door. Sergeant Dwayne W. Fisk on the letterhead. Sergeant White, Captain Exley wants to see you immediately. Something pertaining to Whisper magazine and a body under a house. Report to IA immediately upon your return to Los Angeles. Bud laughed, packed a bag, clothes, his paper stash, the hooker killings, the Night Owl, Dudley's for the asking. He drove to Gardena, checked into the Victory, a room with clean sheets, a hot plate, no bloodstains on the walls. He fixed coffee, worked. Everything he knew on Spade Cooley, half a longhand page. Cooley was an oaky fiddler singer, a skinny guy, maybe late 40s. He had a couple of hit records. His TV show was big for a while. His bass player, Bert Arthur Perkins, a.k.a. Deuce, did time on a chain gang for sodomy on dogs and was rumored to have a shitload of mob KAs. On the investigation, Lamar Hinton said Spade smoked opium. Spade played the Lariat Room in Frisco, across from Chrissy Renfro's place of death. Chrissy died with O in her system. Spade was currently playing the El Rancho Club in L.A., close by Lynette Ellen Kendrick's apartment. He drove to the Strip, put the M.O. together. First, the El Rancho Club, closed. Spade Cooley and his cowboy rhythm band appearing nightly. A publicity still by the door. Spade, Deuce Perkins, 3 other cracker types. No heavily ringed fingers. A lead rubber-stamped at the bottom. Represented by Nat Penzler Associates, 653 North La Cienega, Los Angeles. Bud hooked south to La Cienega, the door propped open, a girl inside making coffee. Bud walked in. The girl said, Can I help you? The boss around?
Mr. Penzler's on the telephone. Can I help you?
On connecting door. Bud pushed it open. An old man yelled,
Hey, I'm on a call. What are you, a bill collector?
Bud flashed his badge. The man hung up the phone, pushed back from the desk. Bud said, You're Nat Penzler?
Call me Natsky. Are you looking for representation? I could get you work playing thugs. You have that Neanderthal look currently in vogue.
Let it go. You're Spade Cooley's agent, right?
Right. You want to join Spade's band? Spade's our moneymaker, but my Schwarzer cleaning lady sings better than him, so maybe I can get you a spot, a bouncer gig at the El Rancho at least.
Bud shut the door. I need to see Cooley's booking records going back to 51. You want to do this nice or not? Penzler got up, blocked his filing cabinets.
Showtime's over, Godzilla. I never divulge client information, even under threat of a subpoena, so amscray and come back for lunch sometime, say on the 12th of never.
Bud tore the phone cord from the wall. Penzler slid the top drawer open. Bud thumbed folders, hit Cooley, Donnell Clyde, dumped it on the desk. A picture hit the blotter. Spade. 4 rings on 10 fingers. Booking records clipped by year. Bud matched dates. Jane Mildred Hampshire, 3851 San Diego. Spade there at the El Cortez Sky Room. April 53, Kathy Janeway, the Cowboy Rhythm Band at Beto Lito's, South L.A. Sharon, Sally, Chrissy, Virginia, Maria up to Lynette. Bakersfield, Needles, Arizona, Frisco, Seattle, back to L.A. A Spade Cooley always headlining in those cities on those DODs. Where's the band staying? Penzler.
The Biltmore, and you didn't get it from Natsky.
He forced himself to drive there slow. Parked by the back entrance, politely asked the clerk where to find Mr. Cooley's party. The clerk said,
The El Presidente Suite, floor 9.
The stairs were like swimming upstream. Little Kathy kept saying, Kill him. The suite, double doors gold filigreed. He jiggled the knob, the doors opened. High swank gone white trash. 3 crackers passed out on the floor, booze empties, dumped ashtrays, no Spade. Connecting doors, the one on the right features noise. Bud kicked it in. Deuce Perkins in bed watching cartoons. Bud pulled his gun. Where's Cooley? Perkins popped in a toothpick.
On a drunk, which is where I'm going. Put that gun away, Junior. The worst you got him for is non-payment of child support, and Spade always pays sooner or later.
Nix, this is murder 1, and I heard he likes opium. Perkins coughed out his toothpick.
What'd you say?
Hookers. Spade like young girls?
He don't like to kill 'em, just play hide-the-tube stake like you and me.
Where is he?
Man, I'm no snitch.
Backhanded pistol whips. Perkins yelped, spat teeth. Deuce snitched.
Check the old joints in Chinatown and please fucking leave me alone.
Kathy said kill him. Bud thought of his mother for the first time in years. Exley okayed it on the phone. A run to McNeil to check for evidence of bugging apparatus in Mickey Cohn's former cell. 3 hours in the air. The plane touched down at Puget Sound. Jack caught a cab to McNeil. A wiry little man met him in the sally port.
Sergeant Vincennes, I'm Agent Goddard, Prison Bureau. You think Cohen's cell might have been bugged, and we're looking for evidence to support that theory, which I don't think is so far-fetched.
Why?
Cohen got the royal treatment here, Goldman too. Privileges up the wazoo, unlimited visitors, and not too much scrutiny on the stuff brought into their tier, so a bug could have been planted. Are you thinking Goldman crossed Mickey?
Something like that.
They had cells 2 doors apart. The whole row is vacated and closed off.
On the day-room table, crowbars, chisels, mallets, a long, thin pole with a hook at the end, a tape recorder, a tangle of wires. Goddard said,
First we tear this tier up. I admit it's a long shot, but I brought a recorder along in case we find tape.
They dug. Irregularly applied spackling dotted with pinholes right by the protector plate. He smashed his mallet until half the wall came down and a small spackle-covered microphone dangling off a wire came loose. The wire jerked from his hand, straight back into the wall. 5 seconds later, Goddard stood there holding it, attached to a tape recorder, covered with plastic.
Halfway between the cells. Let's listen, huh?
Static. A dog yipping.
There, Boobala,
Mickey Cohn's voice.
Quit licking your schnitzel, little precious.
More yips. A long silence, a click-off sound. Goddard said,
I was timing it. Voice-activated mic. 5 minutes and it goes off automatically.
Click off, click on. 46 minutes of Mickey and at least 2 other men playing cards, mumbling, flushing the toilet. The tape ran out. Nothing to do with the night owl. Ed made the dining car early. Vincennes was there, holding a tape spool. Ed sat down.
That's tape off a bug?
Vincennes slid the spool over.
Yeah, filled with Mickey C. running off at the mouth on stuff that has nothing to do with the night owl. Too bad, but I think we can put Davy down as a traitor to Mickey, and I think he must have heard the Engliklings offer Mick the Cathcart deal. He liked the sound of it and sent Van Gelder after Duke, and that's as far as I can take it.
The man looked shot. Good work, Jack. Really, I mean it. And tomorrow, I'm hitting Patchett. I'm bringing in Terry Lux and every Patchett flunky that Fisk and Kleckner can find.
And what about Bracken and Patchett?
Ed saw Lynn naked. Bracken tried to buy out of your deposition. She snitched you on that escapade in Malibu, and I played her back on it. Vincennes raised his head, pale.
So tell me you'll be able to square what's in the file.
Ed picked up his menu. Underneath, heroin, a switchblade, a 9mm automatic. You're going to shake Patchett down. He snorts heroin, so you offer him some. You're going after him to get your file back and to find out who made the blood smut and killed Hudgens. You're going to scare the shit out of Patchett, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get what we both want. Vincennes smiled.
Suppose it goes bad.
Then kill him. Lynn on her porch, watching the rain. Bud ran up. She held her arms out. Bud said,
I was worried. I kept calling you last night. How did it...
Lynn touched his lips.
I told them things about Pierce that you already know, and I've been getting misty with the rain and thinking about telling them more. I'm thinking that it's over with Pierce.
Bud leaned on the porch rail. Lightning lit up the street and dry tears on Lynn's face. Honey, what is it? Is it Exley? Did he hard-nose you?
It's Exley, but not what you're thinking. And I know why you hate him so much. He's just the opposite of all the good things you are. He's more like I am.
Bud turned on the porch light. You going to tell me what happened with you and Exley?
We just talked.
Her little half-smile did it. You slept with him. Lynn looked away. Bud hit her, once, twice, 3 times. Lynn faced straight into the blows. Bud stopped when he saw he couldn't break her. Chester Yorkin, former driver for Pierce Patchett, wising off at the mirror, making faces, flipping the bird. Skinny, a pompadour flopped over his eyes, oozing grease. Welts on his arms, maybe old needle marks. Ed opened the door. Yorkin said,
Hey, I know you. I read about you.
Ed got behind him, cuffed him, shoved him to the floor. Everything. I want to know about the smut and the other shit you pushed through fleur-de-lis. You start with those tracks on your arms and why a smart man like Patchett trusts a junkie like you. Yorkin bobbed his head.
I let him test horse on me, here and there, a little at a time. Pierce got this stolen heroin years ago. Some guy left it with these guys Pete and Bax Anglicling, just as a sample, and they gave it to their father, who was some kind of chemistry hotshot. He taught Pierce in college, and he laid the shit off to him and died, a heart attack or something. Pierce has been developing compounds with the stuff for years. He wants to make the cheapest and the safest and the best. I just take some test pops.
Who shot at Jack Vincennes outside the Hollywood Drop back in '53? Yorkin cringed.
Me. Pierce told me to clip him.
Patchett nailed. Attempted murder on a police officer. You remember those orgy books Fleur-de-Lis was running 5 years ago? Yorkin bobbed his head yes, coughed.
Okay, Pierce had this old string of girls that he let go. Some guy, I don't know his name, he talked some of the girls and their johns into posing for them pictures. He went to Pierce to get money to move the books wide. You know, he promised Pierce a cut. Pierce, he liked the idea, but he didn't want to expose his girls or their johns. He bought a bunch of the books off the guy to move through Fleur-de-Lis. Well, the guy who made the stuff, somehow he weaseled some info on the Anglicling brothers out of Pierce, how they had this printing press place and was always bent for money. He found himself a front man, and the front man, he approached the brothers, you know, a plan to make the shit bulk and move it.
The front man, Duke Cathcart. So Patchett and the smut are dead, right? All he's interested in is pushing the heroin.
Nix. The guy who brought Pierce the heroin years ago, well, he's got lists of all these rich perverts and all these contacts in South America. Him and Pierce, they sat on the original pictures for years. Then they had some new books made up, who knows where. They got the shit in a warehouse someplace, I don't know where, just waiting to go. Pierce has got him a booby-trapped safe by his house. He's got money, dope, all kinds of stuff stashed there. And the new drop address is 8819 Linden, Long Beach.
Stake in your cell, Chester. You've earned it. Ed returned to his office. Fisk rapped on the door.
Sir, I brought Lux and Geisler gave me a prepared statement.
Ed said, "Send Dr. Lux and Mr. Geisler in." Ed opened the door. Lux and his attorney walked up. Ed smiled. "I accept the formal statement you offered, and I have no real questions for Dr. Lux. I have just one favor to ask and a large one to grant in return. Doctor, I know you deal in legal morphine cures. Help me with something and I'll pledge my friendship. Pierce, Patchett, and heroin, Doctor. I'll settle for rumors, and I won't ask for your sources." Geisler and Lux went into a huddle. Lux broke it off.
"I've heard Pierce is connected to some very bad men who want to control the heroin trade in Los Angeles. He's quite the chemist, you know, and he's been developing a special blend for years. I've heard it puts regular heroin to shame, and I heard it's ready to be manufactured and sold."
Ed called Lynn Bracken. "Lynn, it's Exley. You didn't go to Patchett, did you? I want you to get out of L.A. for a week or so. I have a place at Lake Arrowhead. You can stay there. Leave this afternoon." Jack called Patchett. Patchett said,
"Yes, I'll talk to you. 11 tonight, and come alone."
He wore a tape wire hooked across a bulletproof vest. He carried a bag of heroin, a switchblade, a 9mm automatic. He rang the bell. Patchett opened the door. Jack threw the dope in his face.
"Just a peace offering."
Patchett.
"Where did you get that?"
Jack pulled out the knife, scratched his neck with the blade. He felt blood, licked it off a finger. Academy Award psycho.
"I shook down some niggers. You know all about that, right? Hush Hush magazine used to write me up. You and Sid Hudgens go way back, so you should know."
No fear.
"You made trouble for me 5 years ago. I still have that file carbon on you, and I think it's fair to say that you broke your part of the bargain. I'm assuming you've shown your superiors your deposition."
Knife bit. The tip of the blade in one palm, a little push to retract it. More blood, a key Exley line.
"I'm way past you in the information department. I know about the heroin you got and what you've been doing with it. I know about the smut you were pushing back in 53. Now, all I want is my file and some information."
"What information?"
"I made a deal with Hudgens. The deal was my file destroyed and 10 grand in cash in exchange for some juicy dirt I had on the LAPD high brass. Sid got killed before I could pick up the money and the file, and I think the killer got both of them. I need that money. You didn't make that smut back in 53, but whoever did killed Sid and robbed me. Give me the name, and I'm yours."
Patchett smiled. Jack smiled.
"Pierce, the Night Owl was smut and heroin. Yours. Do you want to swing for that?"
Patchett pulled out a piece, shot him 3 times. Silencer thwaps. The thug shattered the tape gizmo, bounced off his vest. 3 more shots, 2 in the vest, 1 wide. Jack crashed into a table, came up aiming. A jammed slide, Patchett in his face, the knife out, a blind stab, a scream, the blade catching. Patchett's left hand nailed to the table, another scream. His right hand arcing, a hypo in it. The needle mainline close, stab, zoom, somewhere nice. Shots rifle loud. "No, Abe, no! Lee, no!" Flames, smoke rolling away from the grief, so he could live to love the needle again, maybe see the funny man with his hand shivved to the table. Bud drove to Lynn's, no white Packard. A neighbor woman bringing in milk. She said,
"Good morning. You're Miss Bracken's friend, aren't you?"
The old snoop. Lynn said she peeped bedrooms. "That's right."
"I heard her talking to the manager last night. She was asking for directions to Lake Arrowhead."
Exley's place. Inez told him about it. A cabin flying flags, American, state, LAPD. Bud drove to Arrowhead, cruised by the lake, found it. Banners cutting wind. Lynn's Packard in the driveway. Bud punched in a window, unlatched the door. No response to the noise. He saw a leather binder, Lynn's diary. Bud flipped to the last page. March 26, 1958. E.E. just drove off. He didn't delve too far into specifics, but some of the more artful pornographic books that Pierce was selling 5 years ago have diagrams that match the mutilations on Sid Hudgens' body and the wounds on the victims of a murderer named Lauren Atherton, who was apprehended by Preston Exley in the 1930s. E.E. is afraid that solving his Night Owl-related cases will reveal P.E.'s fallibility to the world and destroy his gubernatorial chances. But he will go ahead with his cases. More on this after a walk and coffee. The phone, IAD Direct. It's White. Put Exley on. Exley on the line. White, where are you? Arrowhead. I just read Lynn's diary and got the whole story on your old man. I'll make a deal with you. Just listen. Never. Bud drove to Nat Penzler Associates. The connecting door was open. Mr. Natsky was eating a sandwich. He took a bite, said, "Oh, shit." Spade's been ditching out on his gig. Do you know where he is? Penzler brought his hand up. My guess is on the planet Pluto, hanging out with his pal Jack Daniels. Bud kicked him out of his chair. Penzler hit the floor. The chair spun, tipped. Penzler stood up. Lincoln Heights, the basement at Sammy Ling's. Ling's Chow Mein, a dive on Broadway up from Chinatown. He went in the back way. A fix on the trapdoor, easy. Lift the pallet by the oven. Fumes, opium, steam. Through a mist, naked Spade Cooley. 3 naked girls. Bud flipped a wall switch. The steam died. The mist fizzled. Spade looked over. Bud took his gun out. Kill him. Cooley moved first. A shield. 2 girls pressed tight. Bud moved in, yanking arms, legs. Spade said, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Bud said, Kathy Janeway, Jane Mildred Hampshire, Lynette Ellen Kendrick. Cooley yelled, God damn you, it's Perkins! Color swirled around him. Duke Perkins, plain vicious. Those rings, where'd you get them? Cooley pulled a towel over his lap. Deuce, he makes them. He brings a hobby kit with him on the road. He's been cracking all these vague-type jokes for years, how they protects his hands for his intimate-type work. And now I know what he means. Opium, can he get it? That cracker shitbird steals my shit. Mister, you gotta believe me. Where is he? I don't know. That miserable sumbitch got no friends I know of, except that wop shitbird Johnny Stompanato. Kike Teitelbaum's deli next. Kike and Johnny were tight. Johnny and Kike tea at a table. He walked in. I'm looking for Deuce Perkins. Johnny tapped the table. So talk to Spade Cooley. Spade don't know where he is. He said you and Deuce were acquaintances. Nix. He's just a guy to say hi to once in a blue fucking moon. A lie. Bud said, Take care, guys. If you see Deuce, tell him to call me at the bureau. Out to the car, around the corner to a payphone, the P.C. Bell police number. Sergeant White, LAPD. It's a trace job for now. It's a homicide priority. Private lines and payphones at a restaurant. All calls out on all phones at Abe's Noshery for the next 15 minutes. The woman called back 15 minutes later. 2 calls. One to Dunkirk 32758. A Miss Dot Rothstein holds that number. The second to Axminster 46811, the residence of a Mr. Dudley L. Smith. Bud dropped the receiver. Captain Dudley Smith for the Night Owl. A file room at the main DMV. A confirmation search. Make Stomp, Teitelbaum, and Lee Vox for the Night Owl triggers. Make them the shooter gang bumping upstart mobsters and Cohen franchise holders. Deuce Perkins was part of the gang. The others didn't know he beat hookers to death. Dudley was the leader. Call it Dudley trying to control the L.A. rackets. Bud tore through boxes, auto registrations, early April 1953. The car by the Night Owl was a plant. They got themselves a car that matched a crime report description. They made sure it was spotted near the Night Owl. They didn't buy a purple car. They bought a different colored one and painted it. Hours of digging, a pile inches thick. Then one that felt warm. 1948 Primer Gray Merc Coupe, purchased April 10, 1953. Register, Margaret Louise March, W.F., D.O.B. 72318, Brown & Brown, address on Oxford, phone number NO32758. Dot Rothstein specs. The call to Dot from the Noshery, DU 32758. The dumb dyke tacked her own number onto a different exchange and bought herself some purple paint. Bud whooped. 2 cases made in 1 day, if anyone believed him. Nobody who cared like he did. Except Exley. Trash was up, giving Fisk a statement. Ed watched from the doorway.
I don't remember exactly what I said, but Patchett pulled a gun and shot me. That piece Exley gave me jammed, and Patchett slammed me with a hypo. Then I heard shots and, "No, Abe, no, Lee, no." And now you know as much as I do.
From the hall, loud. Abe Teitelbaum, Johnny Stompanato, and Lee Vox. They did the Night Owl. Throw in Deuce Perkins as part of the gang and get ready to shit when I tell you what else I got. Ed smelled his sweat, his breath. White pushed him inside, firm, not too rough. Put our stuff aside for a minute. Did you hear what I said? White told him what he'd learned. Ed bug-eyed. Vincennes.
Holy fucking shit.
Vincennes looked shell-shocked. Ed reeled in a line so he wouldn't scream Dudley. Right before the Night Owl, I was working late at Hollywood Station. Spade Cooley was playing a retirement party downstairs, and I saw Bert Perkins roaming the halls. Try this theory. Mal Lunsford, ex-LAPD patrolman. Call him the forgotten Night Owl victim. And remember, he worked Hollywood Division for most of his time in the department. Now, did one of the shooters have a grudge against Lunsford? Was Perkins removing records of it that night at the station? Did the conspirators know that Lunsford was a Night Owl regular and planned their Cathcart impersonator hit so they could clip him too? White answered.
Dudley put me on the Lunsford background check, probably because he thought I'd fuck it up. I checked for old Lunsford FIs and couldn't find a goddamn one. I buy that theory.
Vincennes.
Fisk told me about Patchett, how he got his heroin, how him and this unnamed bad guy, who's obviously Dudley, were getting ready to push it. Now, could Lunsford have been in on it?
Ed said. Jack, run with the Goldman Van Gelder angle. Put it together with our new leads.
Trash stood up, steadied himself. Okay, let's say Davy G was in with Dudley, Stompanato, Kike, Vox, and Dot. White, you don't know this, but Goldman had a bug in Mickey's cell at McNeil. Davy heard the Anglicling brothers approach Mickey with Duke Cathcart's smut deal. We got Goldman going to Smith and Stompanato with the word on the smut plan. Everybody, especially Dud, likes the idea, and they decide to crash the racket. On his own, a double cross, Davy sends Dean Van Gelder, his prison visitor, to talk to Cathcart. Van Gelder decides to crash Duke's prosty racket and the smut gig on his own. The outside prison men had never seen him. He figured he looked like Cathcart so he could impersonate him and cut his own deal. So he moved to San Bernardino to be close to the Anglicling brothers. He fell in with Sue Lefferts, and he snuffed Duke. He called one of the outside men, asked for a meet, suggested a public place. He figured Sue could sit nearby and he'd be safe. One of the outside guys put Lunsford together with the Night Owl and said, "Let's meet there."
Ed winced. And we still don't know who made the smut and killed Hudgens, or the Anglicling brothers, which doesn't look like a pro job. There might be something in Patchett's safe that nails Dudley. White said. So right now, what? Ed opened the door. Fisk, get back in touch with Valburn, Stanton, Billy Dieterling. Meet at the downtown Statler at 8 o'clock. Call Bob Gallaudet and tell him to call me. It's urgent. Fisk went for a phone. Vincennes walked out. White said, The Hudgens end is bullshit. It's all Dudley now. Ed said, Just think. Think what Dudley is and what taking him down means. Think, and I'll make you a deal.
I told you never.
You'll like this one. You keep quiet about my father and the Atherton case, and I'll let you have Dudley and Perkins. White laughed.
The collars? I got them anyway.
No. I'll let you kill him. Exley's rule rankled. No hitting. Billy and Timmy were too upscale to take muscle. Gallaudet got briefed by Exley. Everything but the Atherton angle. He thought he could prosecute Dudley Smith. Exley didn't tell him Dud and Deuce Perkins were paid for. The queers sat side by side. Yes, they bought fleur-de-lis dope. Yes, they knew Pierce Patchett socially. Yes, Pierce snorted H. We heard rumors he sold pornographic books, but we never indulged in such things. Kid gloves. Preston Exley was running for governor, Ray Dieterling throwing hot financial backup. Exley asked Timmy and Billy, Have either of you ever been threatened with blackmail? No. Two queers sweating up a nice cool room. Bud whispered,
Johnny Stompanato.
The fags froze. Bud said, Badge of honor, Dirt. Is that what he wanted? Valburn started to speak. Billy shushed him. Bud said, Did he have dirt on your father? The great fucking Raymond Dieterling? Dirt? Wee Willie Wennerholm, Lauren Atherton, and the Kitty murders? Your father? Billy trembled, pointed to Exley.
His father.
Four-way stairs, cut off by Valburn's sobbing. Billy helped him up, embraced him. Exley said, "Get out, now. You're free to go." He looked sad more than mad or scared. The phone rang.
"Captain, it's Vincennes. I'm at the bureau with White. We just caught a squeal and grabbed it. 2206 North New Hampshire, Billy Dieterling's house. Billy and an unknown male dead."
Ed to the scene. Billy Dieterling on a white couch, soaked red, a knife in his throat, 2 knives in his stomach, his scalp on the floor, stuck to the carpet with an ice pick. A few feet away, a 40-ish white man, disemboweled, eviscerated, knives in his cheeks, 2 kitchen forks in his eyes. Trash can Jack in the middle of a half-dozen lab techs. He said,
"The other man's Jerry Marsalis. He's a nurse for this guy on the Badge of Honor crew, Dave Mertens, the set designer. Very quiet. He's got epilepsy or something like that."
"Plastic surgery scars?"
"Graft scars all over his neck and back. I saw him with his shirt off once."
Fisk in the kitchen doorway, looking nervous.
"Sir, I've got Valburn. He said he'd only talk to you."
Valburn in the den, bright eyes glazed over. Ed said, "Mertens killed Hudgens, Billy, and Marsalis, plus Wee Willie and those other children. I need the why." "We were together since 1949. We had our little indiscretions, but we always stayed together and loved each other. I'll tell you what you want to know. Jerry Marsalis made David create the pornography. Jerry was a very bad man. He'd been David's companion for years, and he regulated the drugs that kept him normal. Raymond paid Jerry to look after David." Ed said, "Where did Marsalis and Mertens find the posers?" "Fleur-de-lis. The ink blood was all David's idea. The ink pictures were similar to the woundings on the Atherton victims. When Marsalis hatched this plan to sell the books and went to Pierce for financing, he turned him down. Then Marsalis went to Duke Cathcart, and he went to the Englikling brothers. Then Patchett went to Sid Hudgens. Hudgens approached Marsalis and demanded information on Badge of Honor's stars and threatened Jerry with exposure of his smut dealings if he didn't cooperate. Jerry gave him some lame stuff on Max Peltz. Then Hudgens was murdered, and, of course, Jerry put David up to it. He lowered his drug dosage and drove him insane." Ed, "How do you know all this?" Timmy's eyes glazed fresh. "I found out tonight. After the hotel, we went to Raymond's house in Laguna. Raymond told Billy the whole story. I just listened." "Timmy, why has Ray Dieterling gone to all this trouble for David?" "David is Raymond's illegitimate son. Tonight Raymond filled Billy in on everything going back to Sid Hudgens. He didn't know any of it. Billy told me he was going to snatch David from Jerry's house and wean him off the drugs. He must have tried it, and Marsalis must have retaliated, and David must have gone insane. He couldn't understand who was good and who was bad." Abe's noshery. The table's full. Kike tea at the cash register. Lee Vox at a table on the right. Kike glanced over, reached under the register. Ed saw Vox make heat. Ed pulled White to the floor. Kike and Vincennes drew down. Crossfire. White stood up shooting, 2 triggers on Vax. Ed fired. Vox spun around, grabbing his shoulder. White fired wide. Vox tripped, crawled, stood up, his gun to a waitress' head. Vox blew the woman's brains out point blank. White ran up, emptied his gun, all headshots. Ed ran to the counter, bolted it. Kike on the floor, blood gouting from chest wounds. Ed got right up in his face. "Give me Dudley for the Night Owl." Kike coughed blood.
"Dope. Picture books. Cathcart had to go. Lunsford on posse what got dope and hung out. Night Owl. 2 birds, 1 stone. Duke and Mal."
"Give me Dudley. Say Dudley Smith was your partner." Fading. Trash slammed his chest. "You fuck, give us something." Kike mumbled.
"Johnny wants jail guys out. Q train."
Vincennes looking crazed. "It's a crash out. Exley to Q train." Ed said, "You call." Trash ran out, came back more crazed.
"The train left L.A. 10 minutes ago. 32 inmates in 1 car, and the phone on board's out."
9 prowl cars, 16 men with gas masks and riot pumps. Sharpshooters in the hills, 2 machine gunners, 3 guys with smoke grenades. A deputy handed them shotguns, gas masks. Kleckner said that Rothstein woman was DOA at her apartment. She hanged herself. We gotta assume she got the guns on. There's 4 guards and 6 crewmen on that train. A train whistle blew. Somebody yelled, "Now!" The sharpshooters ducked down. Bud found a tree up close. Jack took a spot beside him. The gas men hit the windows. Grenades broke glass, slipped between the bars. Tommy gunners charged car 3. Full clips took down the door. Smoke out the door. Men in khaki running through it. A sharpshooter picked one off. Someone yelled, "No, they're ours!" Bud ran, hit the car 4 platform, opened the door, a dead guard just inside, inmates running helter-skelter. Bud fired, pumped, fired. 3 went down. 1 aimed a handgun. Bud pumped, fired, missed. Jack jumped on the platform. The inmate squeezed a shot. Jack caught it in the face, spun, hit the tracks. The shooter ran. Bud pulled his .38, 6 hits in the back. Noise outside the car. Convicts on the tracks by Trashcan's body. Bud jumped the train, ran for his car, gunned it over the tracks. A tall man standing by a car. Bud saw who he was, aimed straight for him. Deuce Perkins shooting. Bud caught one in the leg, one on the side. 2 misses, a hit in the shoulder. Another miss. Perkins dropped the gun, pulled a knife. Bud saw rings on his fingers. Deuce stabbed. Bud felt his chest rip, tried to make fists, couldn't. Deuce lowered his face, smirked. Bud kneed him in the balls and bit his nose off. Perkins shrieked. Bud bit into his arm, thrashed his head. Deuce dropped the knife. Bud picked it up, blinded by rings that killed women. He dropped the knife, beat Perkins to death with his own 2 wounded hands. Ed drove to the Dieterling school, bolted the fence, gristled skin on chain links, dark dots on faded asphalt, blood, an easy trail. Across the playground, down steps to a boiler room door. Blood on the knob, a light on inside. He walked in. David Mertens shivering in a corner. He showed his teeth, twisted his mouth into a screech. Ed aimed at his mouth, couldn't pull the trigger. Mertens stared at him. Something strange happened with time. It left them alone. Mertens fell asleep, his lips curled over his gums. Ed looked at his face, tried for some outrage. He still couldn't kill him. Ed picked the man up, carried him out to his car, ripped off Mertens' shirt. Brutal. The man was one huge scar. Pacific Sanitarium, Malibu Canyon. Ed told the gate guard to send down Dr. Lux. Lux headed over, checked the back seat. "I know that work. That's Douglas Dieterling. What is it that you wish, Captain?" "That man taken care of on a locked ward for the rest of his life." Patchett's stash, 21 pounds of heroin, $871,400, carbons of Sid Hudgens' dirt file. Ed burned the heroin, kept the files and the money. His final Night Owl report omitted mention of Dudley Smith and the fact that David Mertens, now the object of an all-points bulletin for all his murders of Sid Hudgens, Billy Dieterling, and Jerry Marsalis, was also the 1934 slayer of Wee Willie Wennerholm and 5 other children. Chief Parker held a press conference. He announced that the Night Owl case had been solved correctly this time. The gunmen were Deuce Perkins, Lee Vox, Kike Teitelbaum. Their motive, to kill Dean Van Gelder. Ed Exley again received credit for breaking the Night Owl murder case. He was promoted to inspector in a televised ceremony. Dream a Dreamland stood silent. Inez saw Ed, a pivot, a hand on Dieterling's arm. They whispered. Inez walked off. Dieterling spoke. He loved his illegitimate son Douglas, despite his rages and fits of strange behavior. He despised his son Paul, who was petty, tyrannical, stupid. Douglas and Paul greatly resembled each other. Douglas met Lauren Atherton. Atherton's obsession was dismemberment. They spawned the idea of creating children to their own specifications. They needed a beautiful face. Douglas suggested Wee Willie Wennerholm's. They snatched Wee Willie, butchered him. 2 years passed. Lauren Atherton was tried, convicted, executed. Terry Lux cut Douglas. Douglas lived in Pierce Patchett sedation, a room at a private hospital, guarded by male nurses. Ray Dieterling became even more successful. Then Preston Exley knocked on his door. His news? A young girl had come forth. She had seen Dieterling's son Paul with Lauren Atherton at the school the day Wee Willie was kidnapped. Dieterling knew it was really Douglas. His resemblance to Paul was that strong. Exley asked him if Paul was guilty. Raymond said, Yes. Preston Exley said, execution. Raymond Dieterling agreed. He took Paul camping in the Sierra Nevada. Preston Exley was waiting. They dosed the boy's food. Exley shot him in his sleep and buried him. The world thought Paul was lost in an avalanche. Art Despain unpacking leaflets. Hello, Eddie. Where's Father? I just spoke to Ray Dieterling. We didn't think you would. Dieterling told me everything, and you were Father's exec back then. The man looked proud. I've always been his loyal adjutant. And you knew about Paul Dieterling. Despain said, Yes, and I've known for years that he wasn't the real killer. I couldn't break Preston's heart by telling him he killed an innocent boy. Ed said, Get to the Englekling brothers. Art said, I was visiting the Bureau. I saw pictures on the advice board. The design reminded me of the pictures Lauren Atherton took. A while later, I heard how the Englekling brothers gave that smut testimony for the Night Owl investigation, but you didn't follow up on it. Late last year, I got a tip that they were up near Frisco. I went up to talk to them. All I wanted to do was find out who made that smut. They took it for a shakedown. They laughed at me. And this old man took them both out. Ed pushed him aside. He walked downstairs, saw his father in the doorway. I'm arresting you for the murder of Paul Dieterling. I'll be by in a few days to take you in. Extract, L.A. Herald Express, April 19. Dream of Dreamland suicides. Grief, bewilderment continue. They were found together at Dream of Dreamland. Preston Exley, 64, former Los Angeles policeman, master builder and neophyte politician. Inez Soto, 28, publicity director at the world's most celebrated amusement complex and a key witness in the awful Night Owl murder case. And Raymond Dieterling, 66, the father of modern animation, the genius who virtually created the cartoon art form. They were found last week together on Dream of Dreamland's Grand Promenade. There were no notes, but the deaths have been established as suicides. All three had ingested fatal quantities of a rare antipsychotic drug. Part 5. After You've Gone. Ed in his dress blue uniform. Parker smiled, pinned gold stars to his shoulders. Deputy Chief Edmund Exley, Chief of Detectives, Los Angeles Police Department. Applause, flashbulbs. Ed shook Parker's hand, checked the crowd. Politicos, Thad Green, Dudley Smith. Lynn at the back of the room. Dudley. Lad, you have performed so grandly, I'm looking forward to serving under you. Ed walked over to Lynn. She said, I can't believe I'm giving up a hotshot for a cripple with a pension. Open your purse. Ed dropped in a plastic bundle. Spend it fast. It's bad money. Where's White? At the car. I'll walk you. Bud White, braces on his legs, his head shaved and sutured, a wired-up mouth. White tried to smile. Ed said, I swear to you, I'll get Dudley. White grabbed his hands, squeezed until they both winced. Ed touched his face. You were my redemption.